Hello coconuts, you're tuning in to Coconut Dee and this is your own very special Dee Coco. How are you doing? So in today's episode, we are going to be speaking about the identity crisis of coconuts. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to try and squeeze as much as we can into 30 minutes just to try and get you exploring the ideas of what kind of stuff might come up. So again, if you're new here, hi. My name is Coco or Addy. I am your very own special Coconut Dee and I'm here to tell you what needs to change, what we could change, some of the problems that we face and how we can almost get over this. Just a reminder, the term coconut means someone who is brown on the outside but white on the inside. Someone who doesn't feel like they fit in no matter where they are because their ethnicity and their nationality is different from each other. In my case, I am the child of Pakistani parents, but I live in England. For me, it's always, oh, you're too British, but you're not British enough. You're too Pakistani, you're not Pakistani enough. What I'm kind of wanting to do in this episode is to talk a little bit about instances where the identity crisis comes up and why I feel like it is a thing. So I pretty much remember 3 different phases in my life. So growing up, it was a Pakistani environment. It was the environment of my ethnicity. So I was speaking the language that my parents spoke back in Pakistan, Urdu. And if you notice my accent there, you can tell I am very much a coconut because I can't even say it in the right pronunciation. I can only say it the Caucasian way. Why? Because I'm a coconut. Great, now that we've acknowledged that. So I would say that is until the age of until you get to high school. Until you get to high school, you don't really notice that you are that much different. Why? For me, in my case, my parents weren't really letting me go out. Understandable. You're young. Shouldn't really be going out much without parental supervision anyway. Again, because you're young. I just don't think anybody who's under the age of 10, 11, 12 should be outside by themselves wreaking havoc. It's just not a good idea. 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds are scary, okay? They can be very scary. So, at that age, I didn't really notice that anything was amiss because the people I was around with my family and, my family are all the same. We're all Pakistani. What can I say? None of us is different and we haven't adopted anyone accidentally. But here's the thing. You get to high school. Anyway, it depends what your high school is like. But for me, my high school was very, very, very chav. And by very chav, I mean even the Pakistanis there were chavs. So there was a few Pakistanis, but it was predominantly Caucasian people. To fit in to a group of people who are kind of like you. So what I mean by kind of like you is not, oh, they were Pakistani, so I went to them. So for me, I was a teacher's pet. I kept my head down. I wanted the best grades I could. Why? Because I was a cheeky little shit. I wanted to be the best I could. I wanted to have the highest grades, and if that meant kissing up to the teacher, that meant kissing up to the teacher. If I didn't get good grades, I pretty much was gonna get a sandal to my face because that's what Pakistani parents do. So, pop off sis, that's what she did. So, where I went to high school, the only ones pretty much who were striving for those high grades, who were always behaving, who was always on time, always, the teacher's favorites, were a bunch of geek Caucasian kids. So where did I go? Did I go with the rowdy chav Asians or the rowdy chav Caucasians? No, I went with the geeky white people. So when you associate with people, you try your best to fit in, and that might not even be like you're trying to do it properly. It can be subconsciously, like you don't even realize it's happening. So it's down to the little things like the way they wear their hair, the way they wear their uniform, the way they talk, the things that they talk about. So for me, being Pakistani, my uniform was always like 3 sizes bigger, so my jumper and my shirt would be long enough to cover my ass, because that is what we do as Asians. You know, your ass is not on show. That's just how it is, and you know, it's fine, it's understandable. And then obviously I would wear pants. We don't do skirts, we don't do tights. That might not be every Pakistani in this entire world, but in my family, there was no skirts, there was no tights, especially not tights. So I was wearing pants, which was fine. In my little geeky white people community, there were kids who were wearing jumpers and the pants, but there was also those who were wearing the tights and the skirts. So for me, clothing wasn't that much of an issue until... Now wait for it. Until fancy dress day or a non-uniform day, I would never know what the hell to wear. The school uniform was my savior, okay? It meant I could dress the same as them. So when it was a non-uniform day, when I could wear whatever quote unquote I wanted, it was distressing, because I was like, what the hell do I wear? Knowing my geeky white clique, they would come in jeans and a top or maybe a dress, which is, you know, all good, except jeans weren't allowed for me. Now, this is not all Pakistani families, but for mine, no jeans. Leggings weren't a thing. You're not allowed to wear tight legs. So here were my options. I would wear a knee-length dress with big-ass billowy pants, or I wear Pakistani traditional clothing, which, you know, when you're in a predominantly white school with like 99% of the population being chavs, you're not gonna go with the latter. You're definitely not gonna have the Asian clothing on. It's just no. So my only option would be the knee-length dress with the big-ass billowy pants. And by the big-ass billowy pants, I mean those... I'm going to be really British here and say, if you go Matalan, for example. You've gone to Matalan, you need some school trousers, okay? Some black school trousers. You go to Matalan and they're just black trousers, okay? Just black trousers. The leg is quite wide. I don't think they would boot cut, but you could get them boot cut. But just know they're not form-fitting at all. Okay? Now this is what I was dealing with. And then the next dilemma would be shoes. What the hell do I wear? Now hear me out. I personally, for one, hated dolly shoes. Dolly shoes are those... Oh God, how do I even describe dolly shoes except for torture? They are flat shoes where when you walk, you can feel every single bump on the road, on the pavement, on wherever the hell you're stepping. You can feel everything. It's almost like you don't have shoes on and the rocks are jabbing into your foot as you step. Like, I don't know why they were classed as shoes when there was literally no sole to them, but they were shoes and they're dolly shoes. So I would not wear them because it was uncomfortable. So I would wear quote unquote boys shoes, which were the ones that, you know, they covered your entire foot and they came around your ankle, those kind of things. I don't know how other way to describe them. I'm really sorry, it's not my forte, shoes, okay? Anyway, so I have them, almost like a black formal suit shoes. I can't wear them with my knee-length dress and my big-ass black pants. But then what can I wear? I don't do trainers. Why? Because at home I only wear Asian clothes, and like wearing Asian clothes with trainers, no thank you. I'm not adopting that. I'm not at the age of like 45 yet. Okay? So we're not doing that. I remember Crocs were a thing back then. And I did own a pair of Crocs, and I remember one day I did wear a pair of Crocs too. one of these non-uniform days, and the whole day I was so self-conscious. I was like, please nobody look at my damn Crocs. Why did I wear these? Why did I think this was a good idea? Nobody else is wearing Crocs. Everyone's wearing trainers, because that's what kids do. They all wear trainers. Unless you're Pakistani, then you don't wear trainers. In terms of non-uniform days, as you can see, there was a lot of issues, there was a lot of heartache, there was a lot of oh my goodness, what have I done? Okay, so it was on those days that you would really notice the difference between yourself and between them. The other thing that you would notice would be meals. So for I can't speak for every Asian in the entire world, but for me, it was always school dinners. You know, my mom works, my dad works, good on them. They ain't got time to make me a packed lunch, whatever. But I would go to get my dinner, and it's not like I hadn't had school dinners in primary school, so I knew what to expect, but it was just the lack of variety, shall I say. So I'm a bit of a picky bitch, and by a bit, I mean a lot, but nobody really notices because I cook most of the meals in the house. But here's the thing, I don't really enjoy cheese. I will not have cow's milk. I think it smells and tastes disgusting. I will not have the ends of chicken on a chicken drumstick. I don't want ketchup to mix with anything else on my plate unless I purposely have done so myself. For example, I have a chicken drumstick, I tear a piece off, I use my nails to get that tiny little scraggly bit on the end that I don't want off. Then I dip it into my ketchup, then I eat it. But I'm not going to use that same ketchup infested plate, for example, for my plate of mash or to put in seconds, unless it is, again, chicken. Otherwise, no, we're not mixing. Other things I don't like is I'm not really a fan of meat in curries, but I will have meat outside of curries, which I know is weird. Vegetables, I mean, I'm okay with vegetables now, but when I was younger, it was like, no vegetables, how dare you give me vegetables? So it was one of those things. So the variety that I would get would be potato wedgies, pizza if I was feeling adventurous that day, because you know, cheese, pasta with the most watery red sauce on it ever. And again, a little bit of cheese if I was feeling adventurous. But you know what? A bitch don't like cheese, but she kept trying, bless her heart. I really did keep trying to like cheese. Like, I would get it and then I would take a bite and then be like, I don't like this. But I tried, okay? You can never say I never tried. So, those were my selection. Now, you go on to my white friends and they're all eating burgers. They've got that steak and gammon thing with the pineapple on top or whatever. They've got sausages. I was always so envious. I always wanted to have sausages, mash and beans. Like in British high schools, sausage, mash and beans was like the ultimate meal, and you can't tell me any different. Like, I wanted that so bad, but obviously I am Pakistani and I am a Muslim, so my diet said they're not halal, you cannot have those sausages, hence why things were very restricted for me. My high school did and then didn't and then did and then didn't and didn't serve halal meat. So at one point it was just like parents were so confused that they were like, even if they say it's halal, do not eat it, because they keep cancelling it, bringing it in, cancelling it, bringing it in, changing suppliers. We don't know if it's in accordance to what we want as Muslim parents, so we just did not touch the meat. Although I will admit, if they did say the chicken burger, not even the chicken burger, the spicy chicken burger was halal, I got myself a spicy chicken burger. By spicy, I don't mean like I mean, it had a little bit of flavor to it, as if like there was some black pepper, which was nice, because one thing you're gonna learn about me is I cannot handle spice to save my life. Like, I will put in like not even one teaspoon of chili powder in my food when I cook for everyone. And even then, sometimes I'm like, I need a glass of water with this. I might have some coconut ice cream after this. Exactly. What can I say? Not only did I expose myself as having no spice tolerance, I exposed myself as like this coconut freak, because I literally was just like, coconut ice cream. Yeah. So that was the thing. So what we were eating was different. What we would wear on non-uniform days was different. Now let me tell you about fancy dress, okay? This is a topic that we're gonna touch on in a later episode in much more detail. But for now, we'll just keep it in the context of high school. So fancy dress. I remember one fancy dress, and I was so impressed with this girl. She came in dressed as Cheryl Cole. She's not Cheryl Cole anymore, but she was Cheryl Cole back then. And it was when she was in the Fight for This Love video, you know, where she has the hat, I think it's a red top, and she has black pants on, but they've got like a slit on both sides, and they're held together at the bottom with a cuff, and she has like those curly brown locks. Oh my goodness, like until this day I still remember it. It was beautiful. Like, I'm not telling you this because there was something wrong with it. I'm telling you it because it was beautiful. Okay, but here's the comparison. Me, little Pakistani girl, every fancy dress I would go as, quote unquote, Princess Jasmine. Okay, let that sink in. Princess Jasmine. Now, what Princess Jasmine meant was, you're gonna go to school in Asian wear, maybe a lehenga or a nice anarkali dress. So your lehenga is the top that comes like to your hips, and then you've got that long ass skirt on. The skirt touches the floor, okay? And then the anarkali it's like a long ass dress that comes to like, I want to say halfway between your knee and your ankle. And then you have some pants underneath that are the same colour of the dress. They're usually quite tight, almost like leggings, but it's not a stretchy fabric. It's like a pant, but they are sewn quite tight. That's what I would wear, and my mum would pass it off as Princess Jasmine. Why? Because Princess Jasmine was brown, and I, shock horror, was also brown. Oh goodness, I just remember every fancy dress it was Princess Jasmine, and I would go and nobody would know, because let me tell you for a fact, if my mum dressed me as Princess Jasmine, every Pakistani in this world would murder me, because that is a lot of skin. Princess Jasmine was the only brown girl figure that was known at the time, and we couldn't even dress as her because she had like a boob top on, and like she just was not covered. Okay, I don't know how else to say it, but that bitch is not covered. So you can't expect me to dress as Princess Jasmine when she's not covered. You know, the Pakistanis won't allow it. I don't think many parents will allow it. I would go as Princess Jasmine. Just so I would wear Asian clothes and that we wouldn't dress as anything else kind of thing. Because, you know, Pakistani parents, they don't know much about... Okay, I'm not saying they don't know much about England. But, you know, if they've just come to England, or, you know, they stay in the Pakistani community even though they've moved here, they don't know much about what English people know. Like, I remember I did a module in university. I know we're skipping here, but deal with me. A module in university called Community History, and in that we were talking about films, films that helped shape the public's idea of history. And people were all like listing off films, and everyone was like, oh yeah, I saw that, and I thought this, and I thought that, and I'm just sat here like, until one of you says gubby gushy gubby gum, I ain't gonna know what you guys are on about. I've never heard of any of these films. These are the only 3 films I've ever watched in my life, okay? Gubby gushy gubby gum, Galhona ho, and oh god, see, I can't even remember the third one. That's how little I know about like movies. I don't think until I got to like college age that I really had much to do with like English media. So for me, not for every Pakistani in the world, but for me, my upbringing was very, I wouldn't say restricted, but English TV was kind of banned, which for me, now that I look back on it, was a very good idea, because I don't have body image issues, I don't have beauty standard issues. Like, I think I'm fucking perfect, whether I'm 11 stone or 8 stone or 25 stone. For me, it doesn't matter whether my eyebrows are done, whether my mustache is done, whether my beard is done. I don't really give a shit. That's because I grew up watching Pakistani TV or Bollywood, and in that, the girls always had some meat to them. If you look at Kajol, her eyebrows weren't done. She had a monobrow, so I had nothing to worry about. I loved her. She had a monobrow. I had a monobrow. As far as I was concerned, I was hot shit. It didn't matter. But that's how it was. So I actually didn't start listening to English music until I got into high school, because, if you're stuck in an IT class and the IT teacher was lit, they would put on the radio station for you guys and you would all just jam. So that's how I that was when I was exposed to English media. So as you can see, there's already so many differences. My classmates would be talking about this celebrity, this boy band, this program on TV, this movie you watched, this song that just came out, and I would know nothing, because we don't listen to those things at home. We didn't watch them. We just did not have that in our periphery. It just wasn't something we were focused on. It wasn't something that was in our home. But, it's a very lonely feeling when like 4 or 5 of your friends, maybe even just one of you, maybe you only have 2 friends, and you know what, for a couple of years, that was my life as well. I only had 2 white friends and no other friends, and it was very lonely because they would talk about shit that I had no idea about, and you have no choice but to just sit and listen, because you can't offer anything because you don't know anything. In high school, I feel like is when I really not embraced, but threw myself into English culture. I was like, yes, give me all of that. Like, I need to know all of this. I want to feel a connection with you guys. You're the people that I'm with right now, and I don't know all of this shit, and you all know it, and it's cool, exciting, it's new. I want in on it. But on the reverse side, when it came to the Pakistani culture, I was so embarrassed. I did not want to admit to it. I did not want to do anything with it. Like, it was not me. People would ask me and I would be like, oh yeah, I don't really know anything about that. I don't, yeah, I mean, I'm Muslim, but like my parents are Muslim, so it is what it is. Literally, that was it. Like, I would not come out and say like, oh yes, this is me, I am from Pakistani parents, this is the culture. If somebody asked me about like Ramadan or something, I would be like, oh yeah, we fast. That's it. I wouldn't say why, I wouldn't say how, for how long, why we do it. There was nothing. It was, you asked me a question about the culture and or religion that I was in, and I would give you the most straightforward answer ever and then change the topic. I did not want you to remember me for that, to think of me for that. I just wanted to be another one of the Caucasian kids, the geeky white people that were in my clique. I wanted to be exactly like them. I did not want to have any differences. And when they would bring up the fact that I was brown, Pakistani, Muslim, different, I would be like, no, me, I'm not like them. And this also showed itself in how I would react to the other Asians in the school. Remember me saying that they were all chavs? Maybe if I got to know them, they might not have been chavs, but I did not get to know them because I was like, I'm not like them. You know, I might be brown, but you know, I'm just like you guys. There's nothing different between us. So not only was I rejecting part of my upbringing and myself, I mean, I can't change it, I am Pakistani, bitch, but I was letting other people talk shit about other people who were brown, who were Pakistani, whether they were Indian, Pakistani, whatever, anyone who was brown, because I was like, oh yeah, well, look at me, I'm brown too, but I do exactly the same things as you guys, and I'm not different, it's just the colour of my skin that's different. But they don't want to adapt, they're just stupid, you know what I mean? So I was unknowingly perpetuating stereotypes by saying that I'm not like them, when girl, I was everything like them. So the third point in my life, I would say, is the college uni era. And this is because in college, I went to a college that was all brown people. And by all brown people, I mean like the white people were a minority, okay? And girl, when I tell you, I felt like a minority. I was petrified. I was like, oh my, where are all the people who are like me? Me saying that when I'm literally in a sea of brown people, and I was like, where are the people who are like me? I was looking for white people. I was like, I am a white person. I'm nothing brown. I've never been anything brown. I'm not Pakistani. I'm not anything. I'm just a white person. Where are they? And there wasn't any. You know, so I had to learn to be friends with Asians who were, shock horror, Asian, who were legitimately Asian. And I don't mean this as in like they were typical Asians, like, I don't even know how to describe a typical Asian to you because I'm not here to perpetuate stereotypes, but you know, they were very open about the fact that they were Pakistani or Indian or Bangladeshi or whatever they were. They were very open about their religion. Like, this was the first time I'd ever encountered a hijabi. Not only just a hijabi, so someone who wears a scarf, but a hijabi who wears the jubba, which is the long black dress. And on top of that, I also encountered people who wore the niqab, which is the black veil that goes across the face, which is oftentimes worn with a scarf. I mean, it's never worn without a scarf. What's the point of wearing that without a scarf? And I was like, what the fuck? What is this? Who is this? I've never seen this in my entire life. Like, my mum, my aunties back then, they didn't wear scarves, they didn't wear jubbas, so I was just like, this is a whole different kind of Asian that I've never even met, because they weren't in Pakistani clothes, they weren't in Indian traditional wear, they were in Muslim attire. And when I say Muslim attire, I mean Muslim attire. That is what it is. And I was scared shitless. I was like, oh my god, I have enrolled into a college which is a cult. So, you know, I had no choice but to be friends with these people because there was nobody else in my classes. You know, I did, and this is going to sound really strange because you know that I did history at university. I did biology, chemistry, maths and history. So as you can imagine, biology, chemistry and maths was just full of Asians. All the brown people, not white people, just all brown people. And I was around them. And we had to be friends because if I wasn't friends with them, then I would be loner McLonesome, and I didn't want that because I like attention. So it took me, I want to say like almost the entire first year to kind of accept any of them as my friends. You know, I would keep them at arm's length and be like, oh yeah, we can sit together in class and stuff, but like, I don't know, for lunch, I don't know what, I don't remember what I did. I think at one point I just remember walking around town by myself with like a Greg's pasty in my hand being like, what the fuck? But that was life, you know? But I think one of the things that helped was in my second year, we had a lovely teacher who would leave her classroom open for some of us women. for us girls, and we could go in, everyone would sit down, chill out, have a chat, we'd all eat there together, and we'd have like music or videos or whatever on the projector, and it was cute, it was whatever. And that was where I met most of my friends. It was a nice environment where we were chilling, everybody was exposing their own culture by being like, oh, listen to this song. And they had integrated it perfectly with being British, because they would play like one Bollywood song, and then somebody would put on a pop song, and then somebody would put on like a Bangladeshi song, and then somebody would put on like a Nigerian song, and then we'd have go back to pop, and then there was a bit of a rock, and it was a nice mix. And because I was with these people, you get familiar, you start talking to them, you open up to them. And one of the girls I met, oh my goodness, she was the most British Pakistani I've ever met. And I mean this as in, she dresses like the most British person out there. She walks like the most British person out there. But the minute she opens her mouth, she's so Pakistani. And to me that was so perplexing, because I was like, what are you doing? Like, don't talk like that. Like, take out the slang words that only us brown Asians would know, like ish and henna, which is like, hey, are you like right? And just say the English equivalent instead, like, what are you doing? And she was like, I am a Pakistani. This is how I speak at home, so this is how I'm gonna speak here. Like, everybody understands it. What's the issue? And I couldn't say there was an issue. Like, my mind was blown. I was like, oh my goodness, like, the confidence of this bitch, where did it come from? Fast forward into university, and I go to university, and I didn't really make friends with anybody who was in my class, because my college friend, one or two of them, three of them probably, they all came with me to the same university. So we would match up our timetables, we'd do stuff, that kind of thing. But I found it really hard to integrate myself back in with being around white people, because I had accepted that we were different, and I was quite fearful. I was quite fearful that they would not like me now, who had accepted that she was brown, she was different. We don't listen to the same things completely. My parents speak a different language at home, even though my mum is fluent in English, God bless my mum. But there's a different language we speak, which I can't speak because I'm a coconut. But my dad speaks a different language. Our culture, traditions are different, what we eat is different. I could not for the life of me bring myself to try and make besties with one of the white people, because I was so petrified that they would call me out for being so Asian, which was something that I was doing years earlier to other Asians, but I didn't think anything of it. But when it was my turn to think, oh, it might happen to me, I was shit scared. I was like, oh my goodness, like I couldn't handle that. And the reason I feel like that I couldn't handle that was because I had accepted, that I was brown, I was different, I was Pakistani, I was Muslim, whatever. But I did not, and I have not embraced what that means. I can say to you that, I am the child of Pakistani parents. I am British. I am Muslim. But for me to say I am Pakistani, that still takes me a long time, because I don't want to admit it. Like, I'm not proud of it. I don't hear anything good about it, so I don't want to associate it with myself. But at the end of the day, that is what it is. If my parents are from there, like, bitch, I'm as Pakistani as it gets. You got 100% Pakistani, you add 100% Pakistani, gives you 100% Pakistani. Like, there is no two ways about it. My genes are all Pakistani. But admitting it face to face in a conversation with someone, when I introduce myself, it's always I'm a British Pakistani, or I'm a British Muslim. There's never, oh, I am Pakistani. It's always my parents are Pakistani and I am British, which things take time. I'm sure in another few years I'll accept it, but for now I haven't. So this is probably the fourth stage where I'm kind of trying to accept it, to embrace it, to love it. But it's going to take some time. And I think one of the things is that there's a lot of shit that I do not enjoy about Pakistani culture. There's a lot of things I would like to throw away, move around, blah, 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 blah. But you can't change things by pushing them away. You can change things by learning about them, understanding them, and then reshaping them. So I think part of this podcast pretty much is to help me understand, accept, love, respect, and then, you know, do that changing for the shit that I don't like. So that's how it's gonna be. So I think I said it was 3 phases, but you know what? We're coming on to the 4th phase now. The 4th phase is, you know, accepting, understanding, and then reshaping whatever you need to fit yourself. Because no 2 coconuts are alike, you know? Whatever percentage of ethnicity versus nationality you want to be, it's fine. It's whatever you want. But the issue is when you start feeling ashamed, when you feel like you can't speak up about it or say that you're part of this, or, you know, when you look at yourself and you're like, oh, I wish I wasn't this. I wish this wasn't attached to me. I wish this wasn't a label for me. That's when it becomes an issue. You know, whatever you are, whatever you're born with, however, you know, if you were born in England, if you were born where you live now, if you emigrated, whatever, you need to own that shit, because until you do, you're going to be stuck where you're fearful of accepting either side. You know, you're going to be forced to accept one side due to circumstances, be it education, be it work, or whatever. And then the minute the balance shifts, you're going to go to the other side. And it's not good for you if you keep ping-ponging around without knowing what your principal values are, what you yourself need and want. And if you don't feel comfortable in yourself, you're more likely to say shit that is going to make other people feel bad about themselves. So when I was saying how I was very negative towards other brown kids, and I would say to my white friends, you know, I'm not like them, you know, I don't do that backward stuff like them, I'm modern, like, that was entirely wrong. That was so wrong. You know, if anybody who happens to be listening who I ever said that to or went to high school with me, I am so sorry. But it is what it is. You know, I was young. I did not want to accept that part of myself. It is what it is. So my advice is, and the whole point of this podcast, hopefully, slowly we learn to accept. You know, we need to have these conversations about things. We need to have conversations about being a coconut, you know, the things that affect us, trying to figure out what balance, what percentage of ethnicity, nationality is best for us, how it fits in with us, and we need to be confident in that, because if we're not confident, other people will tell us what to do. Will say, oh, you need to dress like this, or you need to eat only this, you need to speak only this, you need to stand like this, you need to only go for these things. Whereas, and you will be influenced. Whereas if you're confident in your own mix, then you will make your own decisions. And when somebody says something to you, you'll sit back, you'll evaluate it in terms of your own comfortable values. And then you'll go back to them and you'll give them the right answer. Whether that be, you know what, you're right, I will go for that. Or, you know, I understand what you're saying, but that's just not me. I'm going to continue doing this way. Because the only way you can feel comfortable in this world, which is, you know, it's doing its thing, alright. The only way you'll feel comfortable is if you stay true to yourself and who you are. And that means accepting every part of you, even if there are some that you'd rather not, like the fact that you may or may not be Pakistani. It's just one of those things. What are we making today? Why not make some aloo palak? What aloo palak translates to is potato and spinach curry. Why am I suggesting this? Because spinach is a vegetable, and vegetables are good because they have vitamins and minerals. And potato is the love of my life. And if it's not yours, then you need to reevaluate your life, because potato is day. I just think it's something that's super easy to make, and you know what, if you make a big batch, you can keep it, you can have it for 3 meals in a row, you can freeze it. This bad boy freezes so well, you know, make your life easier. what have we learned today? What I have learned today, have I learned anything today? It is better not to do something than to do something out of anger. For example, it is better for me not to empty the contents of the fridge that have gone moldy if I'm gonna do it whilst cursing everybody who didn't do it. However, if I do it when I'm feeling no emotion because I'm waiting for my pasta to boil and I'm bored, then I'm not cursing anybody in my head. It's not getting worse because I'm like, oh, they should have done it. Thank you for tuning in, Coconuts. This has been Coconut Dee Dee, and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks' time.